Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about Dogecoin because we're seeing something that typically does not happen with these types of moves. And so I want to talk about it a little bit further to discuss, does that mean something is going to happen, or does that mean, things are looking really, really ridiculously bullish for Dogecoin? So anyway, let's go ahead, dive right in. We can start talking about all this different type of stuff. So what we can see though overall in the market today, pretty decent like green day overall in the market. We can see Doge actually down 2.6%. Bitcoin also down about 0.5% on the day. But overall, we've got a lot of alts moving relatively well. Obviously, ICP doing well, Sand doing well, Lido well, Uniswap, Maker, Ethereum Classic actually moving fairly decently, which is funny. Arbitrum doing well, Optimism, Ethereum. Basically, like it's a pretty good day to be within the Ethereum ecosystem. As we can see, basically most of the leaders are Ethereum native type projects. So things looking pretty good overall there. Now moving on, I want to take a look at the crypto market RSI heat map, because what we are seeing is things just keep going green, but when we look at the RSI, things are looking more and more like in the strong and overbought range. And so I am a little bit concerned that we might be seeing a bit of a pullback here soon. I mean, we could see, up towards the top, we've got Sand. Obviously, we've seen Sand kind of leading for a long bit. We've seen, ICP's up here, Lido's up here, Polygon's up here, Maker's up here, Uniswap, Ethereum Classic, Arbitrum, TIA, DOT, ADA, even Bitcoin. It actually just barely fell out of overbought back into strong. So I mean, there's a lot of it's not like these real micro caps up here. Like there's a lot of really, really decent projects up here in the overbought or at the top end of the strong range. And so when we're seeing a lot of this, usually I think we should at least be prepared for the possibility of a little bit of a pullback. Obviously, there are no guarantees in life, so things could just keep going up forever. Who knows, right? Probably not. I would really doubt that, but it could, potentially. And so that's kind of how the market is looking overall, and that's kind of what we're seeing with the Doge chart as well, because Dogecoin obviously looking fantastic, massive move up, and realistically, usually when we see moves like this, we see some level of retrace, generally back down, anywhere from 20 to 80%, depending on kind of how the market does, how the coin, the coin's overall strength within the market, things like that. Obviously, we haven't really seen much of a retrace at all from these first highs. We're a little bit lower than where we were, but we've even continued to kind of make even further highs. Dogecoin looking really, really, really strong. One thing that I will say though is, we kind of have this level of support here at 36 cents. We haven't really even come close to it yet, at least in the last couple of days. But as you can see, there's a very, very large gap between basically this support and the possibility of, maybe this next support. Almost a 50% difference. Actually, I think it is a 50% difference. So if we were to kind of break this support, I would imagine to see probably a relatively quick return down to this level, just because when we see such crazy moves like this, it means there's generally not a lot of liquidity in this range. So it's going to kind of move between these two, I would say, relatively quickly. Now, if we look at the RSI for Dogecoin, we can see just still ever so slightly, actually we just barely creeped into strong out of overbought, but you can see, I mean, we're basically bouncing right on this line. 70 is the mark, and we're at 70.08 right now. So very, very close, but generally this doesn't happen. Usually, like I was saying, when a run up like this happens, we usually see some level of pullback. And so the fact that we haven't seen that, to me, either means one of two things. One, Dogecoin is looking rock solid and is probably going to continue, even further up. And maybe we do see that elusive dollar mark that a lot of people have kind of been wondering about forever on Doge. Possibly, right? The other thing is maybe we just haven't seen it yet, and maybe we do see a return, ideally, maybe back into this range, but based on kind of the lack of liquidity in this area, possibly even all the way back down to the 17, 18 cent range. So a possibility, as we can see looking at the price tool from bottom to top, we're basically up 370, almost 400%, which is ridiculous, right? I mean, that's a massive move, looking really, really good. Now, if we look at kind of the retrace that we've seen from the top down, not even 20% yet, right? And like I said, usually we see, anywhere from 20. If we were to hit back to this line of support, that'd be 23%. If we went all the way down here, this would be a 60% correction. I think that would be a little bit aggressive. That seems like a lot, but also maybe even a 23%, this seems a little light. So, maybe falling down somewhere in here, hoping we catch some level of support, even though we don't really see much of a range for one. We could maybe do that. But overall, things looking really, really good for Dogecoin. And so if you are interested or wanting to trade Dogecoin or anything else for that matter, you can use BTCC. I do have a link in the description to go ahead and get signed up if that is something you are interested in. BTCC I'm working with for the month. They seem to have a really, really good platform. I've really enjoyed using it so far. You can see they've got up to over 300 pairs, actually a ton of things to trade here. They also have tokenized stocks, which I think is pretty funny. I know there's been a lot of crazy things happening with like MicroStrategy and Coinbase and all that type of stuff. You can trade those in here, and you can actually even trade them on leverage, which I do think is kind of funny. But you can see, Apple, AMD, Amazon, Google, a lot of stuff, even gold here if you're wanting to trade gold. A lot of things in here, which I think is a really, really kind of neat feature. In addition, though, we do have this 10% bonus on first-time deposits. So if you are wanting to trade and basically just want 10% extra money, this would be a really, really good way to do so. This is also in addition to the standard bonuses they do of up to $10,055 per user. So if you are interested, I would say BTCC is a great option. Like I said, up to 300 plus crypto futures, up to 500x leverage. Again, I don't really recommend that, but if you have something figured out that I don't, then here that is that option. Also, there's no VPN or KYC necessary, which is another great option too. So anyway, if you are interested, just feel free to check the link in the description below. So moving on, though, I did want to talk a little bit further about Dogecoin and what we're seeing, because one of the interesting things that we've seen about Dogecoin so far is volume really hasn't changed a whole lot. Obviously we saw a spike here. Even when we saw in the run-up, we saw little bumps here, but even up here, volume has stayed relatively consistent, which again is a little bit unusual, because as we've looked through a lot of these other altcoin charts in the past, it's very, very clear to see around the kind of the 4th, 5th of November, we see a big jump in volume that kind of also matches with price, right? And so the fact that we've seen price move up with a relatively similar amount of volume, I do think bodes relatively well for Dogecoin, just given the strength that we are seeing right now and kind of how the chart is performing. It's looking maybe like it could be possible to see $1 Doge coming in this cycle. Obviously, we've still got just about another 2x to go from here to hit that, but I do think this is something that we could see. And so I am, of course, encouraged by what we're seeing here. I think the biggest thing for me is going to be seeing how we hold at this level of support, because if we do break this level of support, maybe we're going to be showing a little bit of weakness, particularly if we come all the way back down to this 18-cent range. That'll be a pretty substantial move back that we would have to recover from. Obviously, definitely very possible, especially given that we aren't really in the heat of altcoin season yet. So it is very much possible. But yeah, the strength that we've seen from Doge so early on in the cycle is really, really good. Things are looking great. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe, because it really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, just feel free to drop them in the comment section below, because I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything that you want me to see, that would probably be a pretty good way to do that. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.